Happy Monday, degenerates, if there's such a thing. But if you have any interest in the AMD funds, you are happy. But first, as promised, I want to look at I wanted to do a deeper dive into ICOI from Bitwise. They pay monthly. Massive yields. They're number one on my top 10. And kind of want to look at a deeper dive. It's not a deep dive. But they don't post their trades. As you can see, this is from their ICOIETF.com website. They don't give you a lot of information, but they do tell you their holdings. So they're in cash, $34 million. It's like a $40 million fund, AUM, 40.3. So a lot of cash. They do have a 310 synthetic, buy, call, sell, put at 310, expires 10/17. Their next declaration is 10/23, so they're going to close this out and they're going to make bank on that. 1,000 almost 1,100 contracts, and then they have covered calls from there's not in a very good order. 350 to 430, it looks like 440. I did look this is as of Friday. I did look as of Thursday. They had I believe a 410 and a 420 they closed out. I'm sure those lost money because coin's at 386. But they have a 310 synthetic, and that's the moneymaker. So the income, and then they added a couple further out of the money. Like I said, coins at 386. They added I think they had the 400, added a 440 and a 450. So we'll keep an eye on that. But they're doing something right. So let's look at coin. Coin's up. Well, down today. Down. Well, nope. Up 1.59%. If you look over here, up 1.59%. ICOI up 1.43. They captured a good bit of that. So I love it, and I've been buying this since I've been buying it. I bought it high here, but I've been adding to it. So my average is only $1 or $2 above the current price of ICOI, which is at, and see, it follows the underlying. It's at 36. I think my average is 37.50. So very happy about that, and cashing in the dividends and buying more ICOI, of course. If you watch my channel, you know that's what I'm doing. So that's ICOI. And they don't post the trades. You saw the website. It doesn't give you a whole lot of info. You don't know what they bought unless you look at it every day, which I don't. We don't know what they paid for these. We don't know what when they close them and what they closed them for. That's why I like YieldMax, because they do that. And shout out to Retire on Dividends. He does that every day with the YieldMax funds. Goes over every trade and great stuff. So check him out if you don't already. Anyway, we got to talk about a couple things today. Number one, we got to talk about AMD. Look at this chart on AMD. Big gap up. They go with OpenAI, worth a crap load of money, and gapped up. Opened at 226, closed at 203. So their profit taking, you see, solid red candle. So they opened way up here, down here, still way above where they closed on Friday. I don't have after hours trading on here for that reason, but up 23%. AMW, if you own the round hill, up 26%. AMD, which is a YieldMax, up 19%. AMDU, which is Defiance, up 40%. Remember, they're a little more leveraged, so you'll expect that. Then on the yield boost, the Granite Shares AMDL, which is double leverage AMD, was up 47%, which is, about twice that, as expected. like AMYY, which is brand new, yield boost fund. I want to see a capture of like 75% of this 47%. They only went up 3.16%. They're paying a sweet dividend, but that's just not good. It did not gap up like AMD did. But anyway, I don't own this one. As you know, with the yield boost funds, I own COYY. TSYY is my biggest. I also own NVYY. They've been great. What else do we want to talk about? We talked about coin. Palantir, 3.73%. Let me pull that chart. PLTW, which is Roundhill, 2.47, not bad. Pallady, everyone's favorite, was up more, 3.8%. And that's not leverage. That's, kind of one-to-one. They try to mimic PLTR. They were up more. PLT is up 4.17. They're the winner. And down, but then on Thursday went up today. Or on Friday was up today. Pretty flat today. But that's good stuff. And again, I can do, I'll show you, I've got my list here. I compare, a lot of these. We'll look at Tesla and compare the different funds with the underlying derivative ETF. I don't like to call them covered calls because some of them don't do covered calls. Like I said with Granite, with the yield boost, I want to look back at the AMD. That's what they're not capturing. They're capped on the upside. They do put credit spreads. They get they sell a put. They get the premium from that. They buy a put protective on the downside, takes away from what they sold the put for, closer to the money. But if something rockets up like 47%, they're only going to get the premium from the sold put. So they're totally capped on the upside. So when something runs up like that, they're just not going to capture it. So it is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to look at Tesla. And like I said, I can compare funds here. This is a paid version of TradingView. It's $167, I believe, a year. I did the free version for, for a while, but you can't have all these watch lists. And I have just a monster amount of watch lists. But Tesla, look at this guy. Up 5.45 today, and it's just been up. Rec shares, TSII, 5.17. TSLW, which is Roundhill, 3.95% up. Although this says 6.43 right there. I would go with that, 6%. This is sometimes wrong, and I've noticed that. Tesla, which is, it says 3.96 at the chart and 3.96 here. Tesla was up 5.45. So they captured a good amount, not what we like. And then the double leverage, TSLL, is going to be double, 10.8. TSYY, which is yield boost, only up 2.1. But again, when it flies up like that, you're not getting the upside. You're totally capped. I mean, more so than a lot of the others. But they've been pretty consistent with over 100% yield, and they're at $8. Look at their chart because it hasn't been bad at all. Bye. It just follows the underlying. It won't today, but and then of course Crash, which is the inverse of Tesla. Tesla was up 5.45. Crash was down 4.59 as expected. But again, getting dividends. It's a cheap one. So we'll look at that later. But that is that for that. And I will look at SMCI too. They had a good day. They're up 5.12%. SIMC yield max was up 3.69%. MCC, which is they're a little bit leveraged. I think 1.5 or 1.2. They're up 7.63%. And then the double leverage FMCX was up 10% as expected. SMYY, which is yield boost, again cap, only up 2%. But they're going to pay a sweet dividend, unless they're, well, they don't do covered calls, so you're not losing that. You get the premium of the put, and that's the end of it. So that's the charts I wanted to look at. We went over ICOI. I'm still waiting for rec shares to declare. They always declare after the market close, and still nothing. We're waiting on this right here. They paid 45 cents last time. Rec shares is growth and income, so the yields aren't huge, but they matter with the NAV erosion, if you want to call it. I don't like that word because they all kind of track the NAV, but rec shares, growth and income, that's VII, this is NVIDIA, almost the same. TSII, which is rec shares, this is, so they're all very similar. And they pay, let me show you here. Yields are, 19% on strategy, but we know how that's gone. And up to 57%. So good yields, but you got more upside on those because they only sell covered calls on, I believe, half of their synthetic positions. Yield max pretty much 100%. So that's that. Just wanted to go over that stuff. I'll wait for rec shares declarations, and I'll update that as they come. I won't do another video on it because to me they're boring. I don't own any of them, but I do track them. So anyway, have a great Monday, and we will talk soon.